So here's a big story I haven't talked about yet because really it's not a big story at all. President Trump is renovating the White House, specifically the East Wing, which he is renovating and turning into a big ballroom. So that's it. That's the story. I couldn't think of a story that I care less about. You know, when I first heard this, I saw some headline somewhere, "Hey, renovating the White House." Like I didn't, okay, good for him. But little did I know, though I should have expected, that this would turn into a media panic that would last for days, if not weeks, and it's still ongoing. So they're panicking about it. They say that Trump is desecrating the sacred grounds of the White House, destroying history by renovating the White House. Just to give you a flavor of their reaction, here's some leftist activist with a big following, Tara, who tweeted in response to a picture of the renovation, "It feels almost the same as when I saw the Pentagon damage on 9/11. Yeah, it's like 9/11. A building being renovated it's really the same as a plane flying into it. Like it's the same thing. And she's not the only one reacting this way. Far from it. So the ladies of The View are also very upset. Here's that.
That is not your building. You
Correct.
don't own that building. That would be like me going over to Trump Tower and saying I'm going to build a disco. You know, they've wanted a disco in Trump Tower for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, come on, man. You don't own that building. That is the people's building. You don't own it.
Let's sing it. Let's sing it.
What? You don't own it. You cannot take it down. You don't own it. Take your behind to another town.
Very good.
Fish cam. Put the fish cam up. I don't know they're going to start singing. I honestly didn't. I should have watched that whole clip before I played it. Where's the fish cam? Do we not have it? I don't see a fish. Oh, it is up. Well, I can't see it. Well, there's no point in doing the fish cam if I can't see it. It's not for the audience. It's for me. Let's be real. Okay, I hear the music. I still don't see it. You're gonna force me to turn my neck and look at the. I have to turn my own neck now. That's the kind of effort I have to put in. All right, let's calm down for a second. So I really didn't know that they would start singing at the end there. I should have figured, because every segment in the mainstream media now ends with singing. Like you had, Jeff Daniels, and now this. If you can even call that singing, I don't know. It sounded more like a toad having a seizure, or something. So The View is upset. Media's upset. It's like 9/11, and they're saying Trump is destroying history. Then over on CNN, they called in a historian who also just so happens to be a former staffer for Nancy Pelosi. Total coincidence that they chose this historian. Nothing to do with the fact that he's a Democrat operative. But they called in this guy to talk about, and this was like a long segment, where going into the history of the East Wing and like, because this is something that, right, like most Americans, we all feel so passionate about the East Wing of the White House, right? Is it when you think about iconic American landmarks, right? When you think about, right, you think about Mount Rushmore and the Grand Canyon and the East Wing of the White House. That's right up there. So that's why they got to bring in all these historians to talk about the East Wing of the White House. And so here's this guy who looks to be about 78% dead at this point. But here he is. Watch.
Tell me, why are people up in arms about this?
Well, the East Wing is a historic part, an iconic part of the White House complex. It is the section of the White House that visitors would come through traditionally for public events and tours. It's been used by first ladies for 100 years, by key White House staff people. And it was built like the West Wing, as you mentioned, in proportion to the White House. It sits down lower than the building. It doesn't obstruct the main White House itself, an enormous contrast to what the president is doing, as well as you mentioned, Richard, the manner in which he's building this ostentatious addition to the building, which is bigger than the White House itself.
So, with that in mind, you describe it. You're on the record as describing it as being sending a message of a maniacal, autocratic concept of what the job is and what his role is. This can always be filed under, just because you can do it doesn't mean you should.
But I think there are quietly in Congress and the architectural and historic preservation community, a lot of heads are being off.
That guy, I'm not trying to be mean at all, but that guy, he looks like Jim Carrey playing Ebenezer Scrooge in A Christmas Carol, in Robert Zemeckis' Christmas Carol, which is animated, by the way. I know that's a deep cut. This is one of my only talents in life, by the way, is figuring out what movie character people look like. It's one of the I have like 3 talents. That's one of them. So I nailed that. Look that up. I'm telling you, it's uncanny. Anyway, cold weather will be here before you know it. And here's something most families don't think about. When the power goes out during a cold snap, there's no way to stay warm. The furnace stops running, electric heaters are useless, and suddenly everyone's left hoping power comes back on. In the severe cold, it's actually a dangerous situation. Most homes are completely dependent on the electrical grid for heat. When that grid fails, whether from winter storms, ice damage, or rolling blackouts, families are left vulnerable. That's where the Vesta off-grid space heater from My Patriot Supply comes in. It's a space heater that doesn't need electricity. It runs on canned heat, an indoor safe fuel. Keep one tucked away in the closet, and there's reliable warmth available no matter what happens to the grid. Plus, it doubles as a stove for boiling water or cooking food during an outage. I think it's a staple to have for anyone who wants to be prepared and ensure that your family is taken care of when the weather is raging. Best part, right now, you can get a Vesta along with other free gifts when ordering the Winter Prep Special from My Patriot Supply. And now's the time to do it before the cold weather kicks in. It's worth having that peace of mind before the winter weather arrives. Just go to mypatriotsupply.com/Walsh to see everything that's included. This offer won't last long, and neither will this nice fall weather. So go to mypatriotsupply.com/Walsh today. That's mypatriotsupply.com/Walsh. So I just want to make a couple of points about this renovation. First of all, for the record, the White House does need to be renovated. It is a dump. It is a dump inside. It really is. Like, it's actually shocking if you ever go inside the building. I'd never been in the White House because I try to avoid Washington, D.C. like the plague as best I can. But I have spent more time there over the last 9 or 10 months than I typically would like to. So I was in the I've been in the White House a couple of times, but only recently, for the first time, was I in the White House, and I was shocked. I got to say, I don't know what I was expecting, but it's like cramped and small and dingy, outdated. It smells weird. It's just like this. I'll put it this way: if you were house hunting on Zillow and you saw the inside shots of the White House and you didn't know it was the White House, you would, even if you could get a good deal, even if it was like within your budget, you'd keep scrolling because you would look at those pictures and you would go, man, that needs too much work. I don't know. That's a gut job on that one. No, even if they're selling it below, I can't. I'm only slightly exaggerating. The building really is kind of a dump inside. So to anyone who's been inside the building, which most of the media, the people in the media who are panicking, they've been inside the building. But for anyone who has, it's not shocking at all. When you hear it's being renovated, you go, yeah, well, that makes sense. It's kind of embarrassing. Now, I'm not saying that the President of the United States should live in a palace, and that's not what Trump is turning it into, but it should at least be a nice, right? It should be at least like kind of nice. It should be sort of updated and renovated. Maybe it shouldn't look like, right, your grandmother's house in 1963. I don't know. It doesn't really matter that much to me one way or another, but at the same time, it doesn't surprise me they want to renovate it. And second, more to the point, when you listen to what these theatrical, phony dorks are saying, they're saying, you don't own it. This is history. Respect our history. Nobody voted on this. You're desecrating. It's destructive. Well, all of these statements would, of course, apply much more to the dozens of historical monuments that the left tore down over the last 5 to 10 years. Now they have the gall. I mean, these people have so much gall. They're so shameless. And that is truly their superpower, is that they have no shame at all. And it does make, now it makes them soulless, it makes them evil people, but it makes them effective politically, because shame is kind of the last line of defense. And if you don't have that, then you end up with people like the left who, they have no, after they just spent years saying, yeah, you know what, we don't like that historic monument, that work of art. We don't like it, so we're just going to pull it down. Right now they have the gall to say, well, we didn't vote on that. Oh, really? Who voted? Who voted on you tearing down a statue? Do we get to vote on that as a country? Did we? Now, in many cases, no one voted at all, and you just went and did it yourself. Or at best, it was some council somewhere voted. The country didn't vote. Right? You don't own it. What about all those monuments you tore down? You didn't own those. You didn't make them. You didn't own them. That was also history. And you just destroyed it. Right? And now they've discovered this great abiding love for American history. But they're so fake. They don't even, they're trying to pretend. This is always funny when the left and people in media, every once in a while, they pretend to be patriots. They pretend to actually care at all about America. But they're like aliens. They're these alien creatures trying to mimic how people act. They remind me of, Men in Black. They remind me of when that guy gets his skin ripped off and the alien inhabits the skin, right? In the first Men in Black, which is the only one that was worth watching. And he's kind of like walking around very jittery and trying to speak. It just doesn't work. His skin is like falling off. And that's what leftists remind me of, kind of in general, but in particular when they're trying to pretend to care about the country. And so that's why they'll go around and say, not the East Wing of the White House. We as Americans cherish it so much. No, we don't give a damn about the East Wing of the White House, okay? We care about the beautiful statues and monuments that you people tore down. We did care about those. And just to remind you, by the way, this is what these people actually think of our history. I want you to take a look at this picture. We'll put up on the screen. And what you're seeing there is the Stonewall Jackson Monument in Virginia, or what was in Virginia. And that's on the left. And that had stood in place for 100 years. It was made 100 years ago. And that's what it looks like on the right. And according to the Post Millennial, which reported on it, they took this monument and they gave it to an art museum in Los Angeles, where somebody named Kara Walker turned it into this mutant. They turned it into this monstrosity, turned it into a, quote, monstrous mutant, and which the LA Times reported on that, and they said it like monster, like it's a good thing. They were praising it by saying it's a monstrous mutant. Right? That's what they think of our history. Now, you may remember when they first started tearing down these priceless works of art and historical monuments, and they claimed that, hey, it's no big deal. We're going to put the statues in museums. That's where they belong. And of course, you had even plenty of conservatives, plenty of the dumbest conservatives who went along with it and said, well, yeah, they're just putting it in a museum. Sounds reasonable to me. All right, this is a monument of a Confederate general. Ooh, that's scary stuff. No, we can't have Confederate generals being honored. Sure, for the past 100 years, it was fine. Sure, people who actually lived through the Civil War or had parents who died in the Civil War, they were okay with it. But for us, 150 years after the war, we can't. The scars are too deep. It's too soon. We can't bear to see Stonewall Jackson honored. It's too raw for us. It wasn't for the people who lived through it. When they started putting those monuments up, there were people, again, whose parents and grandparents fought and died in the war. But here we come along 150 years later saying, I can't bear. It's traumatic. It's traumatic to see Stonewall Jackson honored. And yet even had conservatives that were going along with this. They didn't have the balls to stand up and say, no, you know what? Yeah, you're not taking that down. I don't care. Oh, but we're offended. I don't give a damn if you're offended by it. That is a priceless work of art. It's American history. And you know something else? Stonewall Jackson was a great man. Robert E. Lee was a great man. I don't care how it makes you feel to hear that. It's a fact. Oh, Stonewall Jackson had slaves. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, so did like every historical figure in history ever up until 150 years ago. But for this one small sliver of people, that is disqualifying. Not for anybody else. But not enough conservatives had the balls to stand up and say that. So they took the argument seriously. Oh, they're just going to put it in a museum. That's all they're going to do. Yeah, it turns out they're going to put it in an art museum after they disassemble it to turn it into a monstrous mutant, to put it on display as a humiliation ritual for all Americans. That's what they meant by putting it in a museum, which you should have known all along. Hey, YouTube, thanks for listening to the show. If you'd like access to my full show with no ads, you should go to dailywire.com and use promo code Walsh to get 2 months free on all annual plans. See you there.